Hello guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Shooting the Dolomites. Today I'm taking you to one of the locations that probably has seen one of the biggest surges in terms of popularity over the last decade, and that is the Federa Lake. I'm sure that if you type on Google Dolomites in autumn, this is the first thing that pops up, because you have to know that right now it's summer, so it's hard to see, but most of the trees around this lake are larches, which means that during the autumn season they change color and they get these beautiful orange hues, and the contrast between the blue tones of the lake or the sky, if you get a clear sky day, and the orange of the larches are just spectacular. So as always, if you want to know more about the possible compositions in the area, as well as when is the exact time to be here and how to reach the location, well, you know what to do. Just keep watching. Right, let's start with composition number one, and by far the most popular of the whole spot, which is a fairly simple shot. The reflection of the Becco di Mezzodì in the Federa Lake, of course. So you can get this shot by the lake shore on the opposite side of the refugio, which you can see maybe, I don't know, with a wide angle, far in the distance. So you will have to walk all the way across the lake, and honestly, anywhere in this area you will be fine. A lot of people, they will be in this little bay, but as long as you get some reflection, you will be fine all across here. So don't fix yourself over, oh my god, I need to place my tripod in between those two tripods, everyone try to stand here, but again, you can get some great shots all across. Actually, if you manage to get a little bit higher, even on that little ridge, on the little hill, you can get some nice foreground, maybe with the pine trees or in between the larches. So again, don't fix yourself too much on the classic reflection shot. Okay, let's say that you're done with the lakeside shot and you want to change perspective. Another fairly popular composition from the Federa Lake is from up here, okay, where you get to see the full lake from this elevated viewpoint. And you have several options here regarding the different shootings and compositions. So you can go vertical, you can go horizontal, you can stay very wide, because especially in autumn you will get the sun rising over there, so you might get the sun star in your frame if you're wide enough. If you're including that section, you can get the full lake, of course, and you can zoom in a little bit more and maybe frame the mountain in between the larches. The contrast between the blue of the lake and the orange of the larches during the autumn season is just spectacular. So it's really a beautiful view from up here. I love this perspective, but full disclosure, this place is not for everyone, because the little trail, well, it's not really a trail, just the path that takes up here, whatever, it's full of very big rocks, very loosened, okay, so it's very slippery, it's very steep, so you need to know what you're doing. And again, it's going to be full of people here, so you'll need to be extra careful not to throw rocks around. Just please take care and think it through if you are okay with doing this, if you're not getting yourself into dangerous situations. The third and last composition that we're going to check today in this video, which doesn't mean that there's only 3 compositions, don't make that mistake, of course, there's plenty more, and I invite you to find a lot more. But the third one that we're going to see today is this one, this big boulder, which you can find kind of halfway between the hut, the refugio, and the other side of the lake. So it's kind of halfway, and you can't miss it because it's the bigger rock of the whole lake, the biggest rock of the whole lake. I randomly found this place back in 2016, which was my first visit to this lake, and I arrived here pitch black because I knew that sunrise was the best moment, so I arrived here very early. The first thing that I see with my headlamp is this little swampy area. You see, there's a little path that leads you all the way into the rock, and I thought that must be the shot. And I, in my head, it was still too early to think that I might actually go to the other side of the lake and get the reflection. So I climbed all the way up, and again, to this day, after shooting it from all sorts of perspectives, I still think that it's nice. I mean, the alignment of the element is slightly different. Fundamentally, it's still a reflection shot. So if you don't want to go through the hustle of doing all of these, you can just get to the classic viewpoint of the lake and the shot will be fairly similar. But again, for those of you that want something a little bit different and definitely less crowded, I might tell you to come here. It's a nice little spot, and I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, this doesn't count as one single composition, so it's hard to classify, but you will have some of the best reflections that you can possibly imagine around this lake, okay? Because it sits in a very, very protected area from the wind. So despite, yes, it will still get ripples in the water, probably after sunrise. But look, right now it's 11 a.m. in the morning, and look, it's still fairly calm. So I highly encourage you to just walk around the whole lake, which is, again, it's a fairly small lake, so it won't take you much. And just, again, tripod in your hand, camera in the other, and just look for compositions. There's so many reflection shots that you can take from all across the lake. For me, that's like actually the funniest part, because you can just walk around over and over again as the light changes and just get all these perfect glass-like reflections, which again, I'm a sucker for reflections, so I love them. If you don't, probably that's not your type of shot. When should you visit the Federa Lake? Now, there's never been an easier question in all of my videos. Sunrise in autumn. Sunrise because you get almost the very first light on the larches, and when they fire up is absolutely gorgeous. Sunset, you kind of lose the light behind the Crowd of the Lago fairly soon in the afternoon, so not optimal. And autumn because of the larches, they change color and they become orange, and well, that's the main reason why you're coming to this lake. More specifically, I'd say the peak of the foliage is between the 15th of October and the very end of the month, depending on how dry and how warm that autumn season has been. So, autumn, sunrise. Let's spend a couple minutes talking about how to reach the Federa Lake. Now, the lake itself is located not far from Cortina, so most likely that will be your base. But to reach the lake itself, you will have 3 different ways. So one is the hard way, one is the, let's say, reasonable way, and one is the easy way. Now, the hard way, oh boy, the weather gods are not helping me today. The hard way, which is the one that I'm taking right now, is the trail that starts from Rue Curto, which is a parking area that you will find on your way to the top of the Jau Pass. So you will find it next to the road, this kind of halfway, and you cannot miss it because there's always cars parked, and there's like a sign and everything, so it's very easy to find, and probably you can find it on Google too. And that's the head of the trail, and it will take you, depending on your speed of course, anywhere between 1 and 2 hours. I would say on average 1 hour and a half to reach the lake itself. The elevation gain is about a little bit less than 400 meters, so 1200 feet, and it's a beautiful scenic trail. So for those of you that likes hiking, to me this is by far the best choice. Now, the second way, and which I call the reasonable one, is to drive all the way up to Lago Federa, which there's a little mountain road that leads to it, and it's open during the autumn season. It closes for 1 month, generally like late July to late August. So during the summer season it's closed, but during the autumn season it's open, and you can drive all the way to this little refugio/hut. And from there, there's a trail, well, more like a road, that leads to the lake, and you'll be there in anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes. So it's going to be a lot shorter than the 434 from Rue Curto. And then finally you have the easy way, which is to rent one of the Jeep services that they will start straight from Cortina. They will pick you up at your hotel and they will take you straight to the hut, so to the Croce del Lago hut. And from there, I mean, you just have to walk around the lake because the hut is located right next to the lake. So that's by far the easiest. It's going to be fairly expensive, but that's if you don't like or don't want or can't walk, that's probably your best option to visit this spot. All right, I'm almost back at the car, which means it's time to wrap things up. Now, let's say that I only have one day in the Dolomites during the autumn season. I wouldn't even think about thinking where to go, because for me it would be a no-brainer. I mean, the Federa Lake is such a gorgeous place to enjoy during the autumn season. Now, the only drawback is that it's going to be, these days it's fairly popular, so there's going to be plenty of people, between photographers and just, you know, people that want to enjoy the place. So don't expect to be alone. Don't expect to find peace unless you're extremely lucky. And despite all of this, it's still a place worth seeing. So I really hope you got some useful information out of this video, and well, I'll see you next time.